As bleak as it might seem, there's a bright side to the state of the Nigerian economic trend. This is the opinion of individuals who say they have benefited from times like this. Information technology expert and businessman Yele Okeremi is one of such.
Challenges and opportunities are just two sides of the same coin. And I've said this in time past, that when there's a recession, every recession anywhere in the world does create new leaders. So for people who can think differently, this may be their own ability for them to be enthroned as new leaders in business, as it were. So for example, today, all we really need to take a look at is people need to move away from thinking about what you call the grandiose kind of things, the grand lifestyles that we used to have. People should begin to think about things that actually make meaning to life, both on a basic, let me say on the basic level. You know, if you look at Maslow's needs theory, the hierarchy, if you come down to that level, clearly I think there are opportunities. And people have said to me, well, I know people have invested in food, for example, that in any recession, food business will always thrive.
Sunday Olatigbe is one of the individuals who's been thinking along the same line with Mr. Okeremi. Since May 2016, he can boast of being both an employee and an employer of labor. He says his motivation is the not-so-encouraging trend of economic activities.
I belong to the medical profession, you know. Basically, we've been operating for over 3 years in the hospital, but at the time, we discovered that we're experiencing a whole lot of things in the country now because of the recession that is coming in. And I decided personally that there's need for me to diversify, you know, into another sector of the economy. And that's why I decided to go into a food business, which I also call like a food clinic anyway, you know. So to us, it's just for us to be able to take care of the needs of the people around us. And basically we are capitalizing on the population, you know, of Nigeria. And we discovered that this aspect of business is something a lot of people, there's no way, you know, you won't wake up in a day and say you're not going to eat, even though if you are fasting. It will get a time that you still have to go and break your fast and eat. So that's why I decided to move into this, diversify into this business of food. So because we realized that there are a lot of people, we try to interact with a lot of people that we know around here, and they told us they don't have good places where they can actually, restaurant where they can actually eat. So we decided to capitalize on that, and we come in here and we got a space, and we decided to start a business on the food.
You still have your other job. How do you combine both?
I combine both because what we have decided to do basically is to get professionals in this field. We got professionals in this field while I still do my own secular job. We got professionals who handles the catering aspect of it. All I do is to come in once in a while to see what they're doing, give them the necessary guideline, which I think, you know, the necessary tools, you know, for them to be able to be productive in whatever they are doing here. But we have professionals who actually handle it. And I can't be there, I can't be in that particular business everywhere. And for people who are successful in life, you don't have to be there.
And just like that, Mr. Olatigbe says he's found a profiting line of business.
Well, what we're planning to do really now is for us to, we're thinking about setting up another restaurant. Because what we realize about this business is the more the merrier. You know, if we have 2 or 3 and we are making an average of a particular amount every day, you know, it encourages you, you know. And I can tell you that what this business is generating, or what I think this business will generate in the near future, might really be more than what I get as a salary in a month, if one is really serious about it. For me, the business has come to stay.
He challenges other Nigerians to think outside the box.
I think for any individual, what I think is more important is for you to be able to sit down, look at the needs of the people within your community where you live. You know, we see a lot of people, even old women, who sells some things you can't even imagine. You know, they fry yam and do all those kind of a thing. They would have sat down and looked at it and said, oh, I discovered that a lot of people, this particular thing is missing in this area. So you don't just sit down and be looking at people around you. You should be able to look at, oh, I think if I bring in this idea into this community where I live, I'm sure people will surely patronize me. And trust Nigerians. Once you bring an idea that is very innovative, I can assure you that people will definitely patronize you.
But there are other opportunities.
There are other kind of things that we'll try, even in this system. I mean, when you look at the challenges that we face right now in Nigeria, security is a real major challenge at individual levels, at corporate levels, at state levels, and of course at national levels. So people that might have solutions to this kind of problems might just be in for something big. So, people might need to begin to think differently about what they used to do and look at doing things differently today.
Another area that we need to look into is recycling. Recycling, because what is recycling? Is basically taking dirt, taking spent oil, taking all these spent products, recycling them and putting them back into the system. Again, you're talking of local content.
The opportunities are not only available for startup businesses. Existing employers are also challenged to look inwards to expand their frontiers.
Usually when we're in a recession, it's the right time for companies to re-strategize and review how they've done in the past and how they're going to face the future. To do that, they need to cut costs and look at how to do things in a more creative way, in a better way, and that will push everybody to start looking, especially with the way the Naira is going, to look into sourcing of local services, materials, products, and so on.
Mr. Okeremi sees things slightly differently.
Yes, you need to trim, but it doesn't necessarily mean totally you reduce costs. I've always been an advocate of identifying opportunities. There's absolutely nothing wrong with smart spending. And I've also said this, there's absolutely nothing wrong with borrowing. Just as long as you are borrowing to finance something that's going to create value, reasonable value in the future. The challenges we will face is if we are borrowing to finance lifestyles. You are still borrowing to buy champagne, you are borrowing to have parties, you are borrowing to do things that have absolutely no value added. But if you are borrowing with a view to creating opportunities in the future, that might just be the panacea. So I think the way to go might be just thinking differently. As far as I'm concerned, think we can actually do quite a lot. And the beauty is that Nigeria has a lot of headroom today. Look at our infrastructure. Very decayed. That's a bad thing, but not very bad when you look at the positive side, that it creates opportunities for people to develop it. Look at our education. It's not very, very nice today. But then that's a real good opportunity as well. If you know how much Nigeria or Nigerians pay to send children and even themselves abroad, it's really substantial.
While individuals are striving to make the most of the times, the chairman of the local content group in the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has identified the need for the government to focus on development of local content as a strategy to brighten the economic outlook of the country.
Within the next 10, 15 years, we're going to spend trillions of dollars for highways, for power projects, for railways, for infrastructure in general, and so on. And the question is, all these trillions of dollars, what percentage is actually going to be spent in Nigeria by Nigerian companies, by companies also operating in Nigeria that pay taxes in Nigeria? So that's the whole objective of local content. We're not talking of raw material content necessarily. We're talking local content. In other words, producing here in Nigeria and using the services offered and grown in Nigeria. We've got to push local content to be able to start the growth of industries. The industries, from their own part with their corporate social responsibility, will do their own part in training graduates, and more people will get employed.